Hey, Lions Nation! We're back with another exclusive video bringing you all the latest news about our beloved Detroit Lions. Before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss anything about the team. Now, let's get into the news. Man, what a rough afternoon that was. You could feel it right from the first drive. Nothing came easy, and every time he dropped back, the pocket was collapsing faster than expected. The opposing defense came in with a clear plan, and they executed it perfectly. Their pass rush was relentless, coming from all angles, mixing looks, disguising pressure, and giving the offensive line fits. You could see the frustration growing snap after snap. There were moments where you thought the offense might settle down, maybe find rhythm, but those moments never really came. The defense across the line of scrimmage just looked more prepared, more physical, more determined. And that's something this team hasn't felt in a while. Getting outplayed in every phase. He admitted it himself after the game. They had a plan, and it worked. They threw looks they hadn't seen before, forcing miscommunications along the line. You could tell he didn't want to throw anyone under the bus, but between the lines, you heard the truth. The pressure got to them. The timing was off, the calls weren't clean, and for a unit that usually prides itself on discipline and chemistry, that was a step backward. Coming out of a bye week, you'd expect sharp execution, but it just wasn't there. They looked flat. The energy was missing. Even though he said they felt fresh and prepared, the play on the field told another story. They didn't look synced, didn't play with urgency, and most of all, they didn't respond when punched in the mouth. And that's what makes it sting more. It wasn't about one blown play or one turnover. It was the sum of small mistakes piling up until it broke them. Third downs were brutal. Converting just 5 out of 17? That's not going to win you games in this league. He talked about it too, how it all starts with being more efficient on first and second down. Because when you're constantly facing third and long, it's a recipe for frustration. You're predictable. You're one-dimensional. The defense knows exactly what's coming. And once you fall into that trap, it's hard to get out. You could almost feel the momentum draining with every stalled drive. What stood out most in his tone wasn't panic, it was disappointment. There's a difference between concern and frustration, and this was the latter. He said there's no concern for the offense, but there's an urgency. He knows things have to get fixed, and fast. Because while there's still time in the season, the window to get back into rhythm doesn't stay open forever. They made improvements since 2 weeks ago, sure, but the execution still isn't there. Too many details slipping through the cracks. And in this league, the margin for error is razor thin. You miss a block, a communication call, or a read, and it's a sack, a turnover, or a wasted opportunity. He knows it, and the players know it too. You could hear the accountability in his answers. He didn't blame coaching, didn't deflect. He owned it. Said they were prepared, but just didn't play well enough. That's the mark of a leader. Still, there was a hint of disbelief. Like he couldn't quite process how flat the performance was, especially at home, against a division rival, coming off extra rest. It was a golden chance to take control of the division, and instead, they walked out with a loss that felt heavier than the scoreboard showed. He said it himself, it sucks. It's just another loss on paper, but emotionally, it hits harder. Because this was supposed to be a statement game, a test of where they stand, and the results said loud and clear that there's still work to be done. And yet, amid the frustration, there was a glimpse of perspective. He mentioned that a little adversity at this point in the season might not be the worst thing. Maybe this is the wake-up call they needed. Because great teams respond. It's what they've always done. Get hit, get up, and hit back harder. The challenge now is turning that pain into purpose. He even said, maybe one day we'll look back at this as the turning point. But that only happens if they make it one. The film room this week will be brutal, no doubt. But that's where growth begins. You learn more from a bad loss than from a comfortable win. And right now, this team has plenty to learn. When asked about the running game, you could tell he wasn't satisfied either. They wanted to establish it early, but it never clicked. The opposing defense has been vulnerable to the run before, yet today, they completely shut it down. That lack of balance made the offense predictable, and once they fell behind the chains, the playbook shrank. He admitted he could have made better calls at the line. Maybe killed a run, maybe checked into a pass, but in the heat of the game, things move fast. Every decision counts, and sometimes, even the right one doesn't work when execution falters. He didn't hide from it though. said flat out that he shares responsibility and that they'll review everything to get better. That's what you want to hear from a quarterback: ownership and honesty. Still, you can sense the frustration with the constant pressure. The defense across from them just had their number today. They disguised coverage, brought unexpected blitzes, and forced quick throws that disrupted rhythm. It's one thing to get beaten physically. It's another to get outsmarted. And today, it was a bit of both. You could see it in his eyes, that mix of anger and determination. He's not someone who takes losing lightly, and he knows this team has higher expectations. 5 wins and 3 losses isn't the end of the world, but it's also not where they want to be. The standard is higher. As he walked off, you could tell he was already thinking ahead. Washington next week. A chance to respond, to reset the tone, to prove this was just a stumble, not a slide. He said it plain and simple. They'll move on. They'll respond. That's what they do best. And maybe he's right. Maybe this loss becomes the moment that sharpens them again. The kind that exposes the cracks so they can seal them before it's too late. Because this league humbles you fast. One week you're on top. The next you're questioning everything. What defines good teams isn't avoiding those lows. It's how fast they climb back out. He knows it. The locker room knows it. The fans felt it. This one hurt, no doubt. But pain can be a powerful motivator if you channel it the right way. And as he said, maybe, just maybe, they'll look back on this night as the moment everything turned around. Before we move on, take a second to drop a like and subscribe. That way, you'll stay up to date with every exclusive Lions update, and you'll even have a chance to win an official Detroit Lions jersey. Let's keep going. Detroit just shook the entire NFL to its core. The rumor that had been bubbling for days finally exploded across social media this morning. Maxx CROSBY, the emotional leader, the relentless pass rusher, the very heart of the Raiders' defense, has been announced by the Detroit Lions. That's right. Detroit just pulled off one of the most jaw-dropping moves of the season, a signing that instantly transforms their defense from dangerous to downright terrifying. From the moment whispers began that CROSBY was unhappy in Las Vegas, the league started watching closely. The Raiders' season had been falling apart. Internal chaos, sideline tension, players frustrated with leadership, and CROSBY, a player who gives 100% every single snap, was starting to look like he'd had enough. Those close to him said he wanted one thing above all: to win. And when a competitor like him starts craving a new challenge, teams listen. Detroit didn't just listen, they acted. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have been quietly building something special in Detroit. A culture based on effort, heart, and physical dominance. From the first day Campbell stepped into that locker room, he promised to build a team that bites kneecaps, one that fights for every inch. And now he's got the ultimate enforcer to lead that charge: Maxx CROSBY, one of the most feared and respected defensive linemen in the game. CROSBY's arrival doesn't just bring sacks, it brings identity. The Lions already had a defense trending upward, anchored by Aiden Hutchinson, a homegrown star with relentless motor and swagger. But now, imagine Hutchinson and CROSBY lining up on opposite sides of the line. Two maniacs with endless energy, feeding off each other, terrorizing quarterbacks week after week. It's the kind of defensive duo you build dynasties around. Reports say the Lions have been monitoring CROSBY's situation for months. Even during the offseason, Detroit insiders hinted that they were looking for one final piece: a veteran presence who could bring leadership to a young roster. CROSBY checked every box. Not only is he one of the league's most productive pass rushers, but he's also a culture setter, a guy who commands respect with effort, not words. Players follow him because he never stops moving, never stops pushing, never gives up. The deal itself is still wrapped in mystery. Some say Detroit sent multiple future picks and a top defensive player to Vegas to make it happen. Others insist it was a blockbuster trade involving cap restructuring and contract extensions behind the scenes. Whatever the details, one thing is clear: the Lions went all in. They saw their window to contend, and they kicked the door down. For CROSBY, this move represents a fresh start. He spent his entire career fighting through chaos in Las Vegas. Coaching changes, quarterback controversies, constant rebuilds. Yet through it all, he stayed consistent, racking up double-digit sacks year after year, showing up every Sunday like a machine. Now, he joins a team on the rise, one with a unified vision, stable leadership, and a fan base that's hungrier than ever. You can almost picture him walking into Ford Field for the first time, soaking in the crowd noise, ready to wreak havoc in Honolulu blue. The moment the news hit, Detroit fans lost their minds. Social media exploded. Crosby and Hutchinson in the same line? Forget about it. We're going to eat quarterbacks alive. This is what a Super Bowl move looks like. The energy in Detroit right now feels different. Not hopeful, not curious, but believing. This isn't the same old Lions anymore. This is a team that expects to dominate. Analysts are already calling it the move of the year. Defensive coordinators across the NFC North are scrambling to figure out how to stop a front that now features two relentless edge rushers, a solid rotation of interior linemen, and linebackers who feed off chaos. Opposing quarterbacks? They might want to start practicing their quick releases because the pocket is about to collapse faster than ever. Crosby's addition also sends a clear message to the rest of the NFL. Detroit isn't satisfied with just being a good story. They're done being the up-and-coming team everyone roots for. They want to win now. They've already proven they can hang with the best. Last season's playoff run showed flashes of greatness, but what they lacked was that extra dose of attitude, that anchor who could demand greatness on every defensive snap. Maxx CROSBY is exactly that. Inside the locker room, players are buzzing. Hutchinson reportedly texted Crosby the moment the news broke. "Let's hunt." Jared Goff, who's already dealt with enough pressure on the offensive side, smiled when asked about the move. Good luck to anyone trying to block those two. Even Coach Campbell couldn't hide his excitement during practice, telling reporters that Crosby embodies everything we preach: grit, heart, and violence with purpose. But beyond the highlight reels and the headlines, there's something deeper here. Crosby isn't just a pass rusher, he's a survivor. From battling personal demons early in his career to emerging as a leader and role model, his story resonates in Detroit. This city loves fighters, players who rise from the bottom, who carry scars and turn them into strength. Crosby fits that perfectly. He's been doubted, overlooked, and underestimated, yet every time, he's come back stronger. That's exactly the kind of spirit Detroit has always embraced. The Raiders' fan base, meanwhile, is in shock. For years, Crosby was their warrior, the only constant in a sea of change. Seeing him leave feels like losing the soul of the defense. Some blame management for not giving him enough support. Others say Crosby simply outgrew the dysfunction. Either way, Las Vegas just lost one of its most beloved players, and Detroit just gained a cornerstone. The ripple effects of this move will be massive. With Crosby now wearing Honolulu blue, the Lions' defense immediately ranks among the most feared units in the league. Teams that once viewed Detroit as an upstart now see them as a legitimate powerhouse. Offensive coordinators will spend sleepless nights figuring out how to neutralize Crosby's explosive first step and Hutchinson's relentless pursuit. Spoiler, there's no easy answer. What makes this even more incredible is how naturally Crosby fits Detroit's DNA. This isn't a city that loves flash. It loves fighters. It's a place that respects hard work, toughness, and authenticity. Crosby brings all of that. He plays angry, he plays inspired, and he plays every down like it's his last. And under Dan Campbell's fiery leadership, that mentality will spread through the entire roster. You can feel it coming. That old-school, smash-mouth, take-no-prisoners brand of football Detroit fans have been craving for decades. If this rumor is true, and every sign says it is, the rest of the league better be ready. Because the Lions aren't sneaking up on anyone anymore. They're coming for everything. And Maxx CROSBY isn't just another signing. He's the spark that turns a good defense into a nightmare. The kind of player who changes how teams prepare, how they block, how they breathe in the pocket. This is Detroit's statement to the NFL. We're not rebuilding, we're not dreaming, we're arriving. Maxx CROSBY is here, and the roar just got louder. We bring you the latest Lions news every single day. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. And of course, drop a comment below with your thoughts on today's news. Your voice makes a difference for Lions Nation. See you in the next video.